Florida Governor Ron DeSantis weighs in on the feud between Twitter and Apple. Elon Musk is attacked by the progressive left, and Joe Biden upset the rail union leaders. All of that and more here, The Bald Brad Show. Welcome to The Bald Brad Show. It is Wednesday, November 30th, and as always, support the show by hitting that like and subscribe button, as well as leaving your opinions in the comment section below regarding anything that we cover in today's episode. Your help and support would be greatly appreciated. And with that being said, our lead story of the day is regarding Florida Governor Ron DeSantis weighing in on the feud between Twitter and Apple. Now, if you haven't heard, Apple is possibly, hasn't happened yet, but possibly going to remove Twitter from their App Store as well as Google, which would be a massive hit towards Twitter, which Ron DeSantis will cover in just a moment with a clip here. But this did happen to Parler previously, which was a social media app, virtually like Twitter, that was pro-free speech. And Apple used the whole idea of, well, they're not meeting our terms of service, and the same thing with Google, so we're just not going to post them on our App Store unless they basically meet our demands. Parler ended up meeting their demands over time, but at that point, nobody really shifted over to Parler. They weren't able to really gain that traction that they needed, that traction that they originally had. And so they're virtually out of business. They're still around. You can join Parler, but they're not as big as they could have been if this didn't have happened. So obviously there's this massive feud going on. People are saying Apple is against free speech, which I tend to think the same thing because I find it odd that all of a sudden that you have Elon trying to push free speech on the Twitter app, that now they're not going to advertise. But when free speech was being suppressed and we were told that it wasn't being suppressed, that you had them just advertising like crazy. All the lefties, all the big tech companies are like, ooh, this is great. Kumbaya, hand in hand with Twitter. It's a little odd, though, that all of a sudden, like I said, Elon's there promoting free speech and they don't want to be involved with Twitter whatsoever. So we'll see what happens with that. But DeSantis here was discussing infrastructure projects in Florida when he pivoted to address other issues, being with what continued to be COVID-related lockdowns and protests in China, which is mainstream. You've seen that, I'm sure, on the news. Well, DeSantis began by citing reports that Apple was not allowing protesters to use what's called an AirDrop function to communicate, arguing that was effectively giving aid and comfort to the CCP. So again, Apple finding their way to dip their foot where they don't need to be dipping or putting their nose into something that they don't need to be putting in, suppressing free speech. Well, here's Ron DeSantis talking as much.
There's reports that Apple is not allowing the protesters to use this AirDrop function where they're trying to communicate. That obviously is providing aid and comfort to the CCP. And so you see that report, and that's very concerning. And then when you also hear reports that Apple is threatening to remove Twitter from the App Store because Elon Musk is actually opening it up for free speech and is restoring a lot of accounts that were unfairly and illegitimately suspended for putting out accurate information about COVID. That's like one of the main things that's being reinstated. So many things these experts were wrong at, and you had people on Twitter that were calling that out. And Twitter, the old regime in Twitter, their response was to try to just suffocate the dissent. And Elon Musk knows that's not a winning formula, and so he's providing free speech. And so if Apple responds to that by nuking them from the App Store, I think that would be a huge, huge mistake. And it would be a really raw exercise of monopolistic power that I think would merit a response from the United States Congress. And so don't be a vassal of the CCP on one hand and then use your corporate power in the United States on the other to suffocate Americans and try to suppress their right to express themselves. And so I'm glad things are changing at Twitter. And I know there's a lot of work to do with big tech generally, but this is big progress, and we're really happy that that is now happening.
Ron DeSantis, man, I'll tell you, he packages stuff in such a great way. It's easy to understand. It's smooth. It also bashes people upside the head in the right way. I love Trump, don't get me wrong, but Trump does not package stuff in the same way that Ron DeSantis does. And again, you have these big tech companies suppressing freedom of speech, not just here in America, but also in other areas, just rubbing the shoulders constantly, like the Biden administration, of communist China, the government there. Really interesting. And recall, over the years, folks, we were told that we are conspiracy theorists constantly. You're not being suppressed. It's not happening. Oh, you're losing followers. You're not gaining any traction. Oh, that's just a figment of your imagination. And then Project Veritas comes out and basically exposes Twitter for basically throttling, shadow banning conservatives. Just as Ron DeSantis just said, that you literally had conservatives being cited for misinformation or sometimes even disinformation, the Hunter Biden laptop, for literally saying that a biological male is in fact a male. You want to know who was removed off Twitter for that? Jordan B. Peterson and others. Charlie Kirk was removed. The editor of the Federalist was removed. The Babylon Bee was removed for literally saying a fact is an actual fact. But because Twitter was ran by these woke progressive leftists with pigtails and blue hair and everything, now they're all losing their ish and going after Elon Musk, which moves us into the extended story here regarding Twitter and Apple. Twitter CEO Elon Musk's Diet Coke tweet sparked reactions from liberals in the media on Tuesday who found a deeper meaning behind the billionaire's favorite drink. They're basically treating Elon Musk here in the same way that they treated Trump, where any tweet now that Elon Musk literally posts, it goes viral and everybody loses their ish over it. And now the libs are going so crazy because he posted a gun, some Diet Coke, and a picture. So I'll show you in just one moment here. But Musk tweeted a picture of his bedside table with several basically Diet Coke cans. If you know Trump loves just Coke in general. Coke's the best product. It's nutritious for you. There's value in it, folks. There's value. It's an American institution. But he also had a pair of prop guns, a Buddhist symbol, and a painting of George Washington crossing the Delaware River. Basically anything and everything that will sit there and target and trigger the left. Elon Musk posted in one photo here. This is the photo. This is where the left are just enraged over it, folks. They're crazy. They don't know what to do. Their head is spinning right now. And so they target this man for this tweet. So what were they going after him on this for? So Musk has professed multiple times on Twitter, if you recall, that he enjoys the beverage. This isn't anything new, folks. He followed up this picture by confessing there's no excuse for his lack of coasters and by calling himself Elon Musk. Musket. I am sick, folks. Bear with me. But some liberals reacted to the tweet by making cult comparisons and berating the CEO for having poor taste. So this is where people want to spend their time. Rather than actually making a product, rather than doing something productive in society, they take to Twitter and post this stupid stuff. So Hollywood composer Sean Patterson, never even heard of the guy, crassly responded, "How shocking. The richest man on earth is a effing trailer park simpleton." That's the best that guy has. That's Hollywood for you summed up. Stick to composing, bud. You can't write a simple tweet or a good one. Liberal author and pastor added, also pictured male fragility. Oh, God. I'm telling you, folks, this liberalism, this leftist progressive cult within itself has seeped into Christianity amongst other faiths as well. And that will be torn apart shortly and has already been doing so for quite some time, which will, in effect, obviously, in the culture war here and in the religious sector in the United States, will tear us apart as well. So like I said, they're just dissolving us. They're eating us alive from the inside out. We're not going to have a country at some point. And the Democrats are all to be thanked for that. They'll say that we're the problem, even though we want more rights, even though we want you to have the right to bear arms, the right to free speech. But as you're seeing here, they don't want that, right? And if you post a picture of some Diet Coke, God forbid, let's take to the airwaves here, notify the newspapers, let's complain about it. Another person wrote, too much Diet Coke can cause severe depression. I don't know where that came from, but hey, this is what they sleep about, folks. This is what they dream about. It's hopping on Twitter and going after Elon Musk now. Others took issue with guns and photo of Washington. Of course they did. It's patriotic. It's something they don't like. They don't want the guns. We've seen that from Joe Biden himself. He wants to remove semi-automatic weapons, firearms. NBC News national security analyst Frank Figlizzi, I don't even know how the heck you pronounce that last name, said about the gun props, thank God they removed the trigger for you. Wow, that's a pretty messed up tweet. But hey, we're talking about the left here. Sirius XM host Dean Obadillah, I definitely, these last names, folks, I'm telling you, I don't know what they're throwing at me today, complained, Musk puts images on American Revolution on beside as a prop to counter his smearing of a U.S. veteran. He's a South African who moved to Canada and became a citizen of Canada. When things didn't work out in Canada, he finally moved to the U.S. Elon Musk is no friend of the U.S. If anything, this actually promotes how great the U.S. is and that you can grow up in South Africa, not be successful in Canada, and then come and be extremely successful in the United States. Talk about the American dream. Am I not right? Be an immigrant, come to America and prosper. If anything, this is a great tweet. You're literally emphasizing that America is a great place that you can be anything you want to be and become one of the richest people in the world and just buy Twitter cash. The picture also promoted the Washington Post to a deep dive in the hardcore Diet Coke cult. So who knew there's a cult now for drinking Diet Coke? Emily Heil's piece touted how Musk had something in common with the common man, while arguing that those who enjoy the drink were part of a cult. They're a tribe whose allegiance to the product goes beyond brand loyalty and into something deeper, she wrote. God, talk about looking way too far into something. The Post piece connected Musk to former President Donald Trump, as I did, and disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein with an unflattering 2018 quote from The New Yorker. Quote, "It is, the magazines declared, the elixir of soft-bodied plutocrats desperate to shed their shady past and possibly a few pounds. The drink provoked more outrage from left-leaning culture outlets like Slate and The Cut. Irrelevant entertainment blog Gawker mocked Musk's drink of choice as one of the psychos with no taste. So because you like a certain drink, all of a sudden you're a psycho. The guy loves free speech, the progressive left, and some of the Democrat Party, a pocket of them, as well as big tech, don't want free speech. But that's not psycho. That's not crazy whatsoever to allow people just to voice their opinion. What isn't psycho is to suppress free speech, remove, deplatform people, censor them, be in bed with communist China. All that stuff's okay. But no. If you just drink a Diet Coke, let's lose our minds over it. This is progressive left for you folks. Moving into our next story of the day. If you haven't already, support us by hitting that like and subscribe button and also leaving us a comment down below. YouTube algorithm really does love your interaction and helps us grow here at the Bald Brad Show. Our next story here is labor unions rebuked President Joe Biden on Tuesday for requesting that Congress prevent a looming rail strike. What's interesting about this rail strike, folks, is Joe Biden asked them to delay the strike till after the election. Talk about, in a sense, some shady biz going on. This isn't the only thing that he has to do to kind of just wait off till after the election. There was many other things, but you got to love that this guy who already has a disastrous economy, you got inflation that's like a 30, 40-year high, gas prices through the roof. Granted, they are dropping. Go to the grocery store, look at your bill there. This would take a massive hit on the economy if the rail strike were to actually go in place. And he doesn't like the way that they're kind of handling their business. And this guy's supposedly pro-union, folks, by the way. The commander-in-chief said on a Monday statement, that the possible work freeze, which could begin as soon as December 9th, would devastate the economy ahead of the holiday season. Yeah, I would say so. I think it's upwards of like 40% of rail is our freight in terms of long distance freight. So you would be talking about, yes, about a massive, massive hit on our economy on top of what's already being done, which is now why you're seeing he wanted it delayed after the election. Because can you imagine the strike happening? Economy takes a further tank, people really feel it. The psychology, the behavioral aspect of things initiates, and they go vote in the polls that way. Rigged election a little bit, folks. Just a little bit. We gotta be careful here. We don't want to be removed off YouTube. As Trump said, we don't want to be removed, okay? The CNN, the lights in the back, they all want to remove us, okay? All right? Disgusting. I'm gonna work on the Trump impression, folks. He's back. As a proud Labor president, I am reluctant to override the ratification procedures and the views of those who voted against the agreement, he remarked. But in this case, where the economic impact of a shutdown would hurt millions of other working people and families, I believe Congress must use its power to adopt this deal in general, this deal. So this whole union, called the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division, responded with a harsh statement based on what Joe Biden stated, noting that the organization is deeply disappointed and disagrees with the statement expressed by Biden. It is not enough to share workers' concerns. A call to Congress to act immediately to pass legislation that adopts tentative agreements that exclude paid sick leave ignores the railroad workers' concerns. The group said it's both denies railroad workers the right to strike while also denying them of the benefit they would likely otherwise obtain if they were not denied their right to strike. So they're not happy with Joe Biden. They want, their paid time off, as I think they should. But here's Fox News' Peter Doocy, the gladiator, talking about this on Fox News. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Biden is trying to put a positive spin on the struggling American economy and his own tricky relationship with big labor. The president visited a semiconductor plant today in Michigan, touting what he called 2 extraordinary years of progress. But critics see skyrocketing inflation,
Biden doesn't have a clue what the hell's going on here.
And now a possible congressionally mandated short-circuiting of a potentially crippling national railroad strike. White House correspondent Peter Doocy starts us off tonight. Peter, good evening.
Good evening, Trace. Progressives like Bernie Sanders and the Squad are pushing for rail workers to get more paid leave. Unions still want more paid leave, but President Biden is just hoping that a lame duck session can help avoid a rail strike. And there are this evening some hurt feelings.
The middle class built America.
As President Biden flatters labor unions in Michigan.
And unions built the middle class.
He's upsetting railroad unions across the country, backing a plan for Congress to override rail unions pushing for more paid time off with a vote tomorrow.
Congress, I think, has to act to prevent it. It's not an easy call, but I think we have to do it. The economy's at risk.
Now also at risk, the president's credibility.
I intend to be the most pro-union president, leading the most pro-union administration in American history.
Leaders with Railroad Workers United, right? Unfortunately, the most labor-friendly president has opted to side with big business and call for a thwarting of railroad workers' right to strike.
I don't like going against the ability of unions to strike, but weighing the equities, we must avoid a strike.
The measure is expected to have some bipartisan support.
Do you think it'll pass?
I think it will pass.
But it could be a close vote.
I think some may be inclined to vote against it.
Unions threatening to strike say they won't strike if Congress passes a bill forbidding it. But union leaders are upset at the president's apparent disregard for their methods.
This action prevents us from reaching the end of our process. It takes away the strength and the abilities that we have to force bargaining or force the railroads into a situation to actually do the right thing.
White House officials believe they've averted catastrophe.
He said to me that he is confident that we will not have a rail strike.
And with that, President Biden is hoping to preserve some of his union worker street cred.
I've been so pro-union my whole career.
And all kinds of unions have organized their members to support Biden in past elections. It's unclear if this changes that. But then again, it's unclear if the president's ever going to be on a ticket where he needs their support.
Peter Doocy, not wrong there. And we'll see what actually turns of this. I mean, honestly, just kind of give them the sick pay leave, give them what they need. I don't see this being a massive issue. I think in the grand scheme of things, we can be making it into a massive issue here if we don't give them what they want. And it's not like I feel like they're asking for much here, folks. But the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen, President Michael Baldwin, likewise affirmed in an interview with CNN Business that the intervention from Congress prevents us from reaching the end of our process, as you heard in that clip, which is true. And they have a right to strike. And when you kind of stop that ability for them to do that, in a way, it's almost like stripping somebody of a actual right themselves, meaning freedom of speech, to be able to conduct themselves and try to get the thing that they want. So I'm not a big fan of Congress stepping in and doing that. I think people should have that right to protest. But also, Biden ran the Oval Office as an ally of labor unions for actually quite some time. It's not like he's ever been really against them. For the most part of him even being in the Senate, even obviously running as vice president with Barack Obama and then President of the United States himself, he has been campaigning on this aspect that he is an ally of the labor unions. I mean, Democrat Party generally is a massive ally of the labor unions. That's why the teachers union always goes Democrat, really far left as well. Well, the tentative agreement greenlit by a majority of the nation's rail unions agrees a 24% pay raise and more robust health benefits while denying paid sick leave is kind of what's in the cards here. So we'll see if that happens. I mean, a 24% pay raise is big. But I think giving them their paid family sick leave, healthcare benefits for what they do, they offer us obviously a lot in the economy. They transport the stuff that needs to be transported. It is a main mechanism. But I want to see what you guys think about basically the demands that they're pushing here. Again, it's more robust healthcare benefits, paid family sick leave, and a 24% pay and raise based on the platform of 2020. Do you think that's reasonable? Do you think that's kind of, hey, you know what, we already owe a lot of money, that's going to raise the prices of things? Let me just know what you think in the comments below. I wanted to at least present you basically the facts and everything that's here with a little bit of commentary with a nice little bow on top as well here at the end. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, folks. I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bob Brett Show.